Hi everyone. Welcome to this part one of HR hashtag means business. And as you all know, I was actually going to come out with some videos to share with you on how do you actually build your business acumen. And if you are a HR professional, we've always heard this narrative for last 20 years where people have been saying, or there's an expectation from the business that HR should understand business. However, I think over the years, what has been found missing is what exactly do you need to do, and what should be the mental model or the framework or the blueprint, or rather, how do you think to build that business acumen as a HR business professional or as a HR professional. So what I'm going to do in this series is we are going to come out with few videos and some resources and some hacks to help you understand on how do you really understand the what of, what do you need to do to really understand business. So I think we spoke about the why last time in my LinkedIn video. So very clearly it's to get the seat at the table, to have a perspective, to ask smart questions, to ask the right questions, and actually to create really impactful HR interventions or fuel the growth for the business. It's very important for you to understand the business, which means you have to understand the product, services, challenges, industry, and a lot of other things. And when I actually try to do a double click of trying to understand what exactly does it mean when you think about understanding business of an organization, there are tons of things, and probably we'll have to go step by step. And I'm going to share some of it from my experience. I'm going to share some of the tools that I've been using in my own journey. And of course, we will use a bit of chat GPT as well, because I think that can help simplify things for you if you don't understand few things, and probably look at things with a very fresh perspective to see what is it that we actually need to do to get to understand the business before we even talk about HR or people in an organization, right? So the first starting point actually is really to understand what exactly does your company do, right? So that's the most basic and the most important starting point. And I would actually recommend you a website which is actually called screener.in, and we are going to play around with some of it. So we're not going to cover each and everything about it today. But what we'll do is cover some portions of it, take a couple of examples of companies to really understand what business they do. And the starting point, the number one starting point of the what do you need to do to understand business is to understand the business of that company. What do they make? What are the products and services of that company? Financials and other aspects, of course, come much later. But the most important thing is how do they make money and what do they do to make that money, right? So I have one simple hack for you. There's a website called screener.in. Most of the professionals who are actually in the domain of stock markets or investing, they actually use this website. And I've been a big fan of this website because it gives a very simplistic way to really understand what a company does, and it also consolidates all the financials and all the matrices or the finances or the numbers of the company, the, as you call it, the profit and loss and balance sheet. And we are going to talk about that as well. And what are some of those key matrices? What are some of those people aspects that we need to look at when we are actually thinking about looking at financials of the company much later. Today, the focus is we are going to have a screener series, and we are going to cover different parts of screener and how you can actually utilize that for your understanding of business. And it's a very I think it's a very simple way to learn. It's a paid tool as well, but you can use the free version can give you a lot of information on many aspects. So let's take an example of couple of companies today, and let me start off with an example of a very new age company, which is not a startup anymore. It's a company called Zomato, which is also known as Eternal. So they went through a rebranding. And if we were to understand what is it that this company does, probably, I'll go on this search bar here and type Zomato. So as you can see, there is nothing called Zomato anymore because the company has undergone a name change. So what you get is Eternal, and it will bring you to this page where actually it talks about a lot of things about this organization. If you see it on in the middle, if you see navigate here, talks about the stock price and various complicated financial metrics. And we are going to touch upon that. So, one disclaimer, we are not doing a accounting session, or we are not trying to become financial analysts here. What we're trying to do here is understand the basic of what is it that is important from your perspective when you sit on the HR seat, and what is it that you need to know. Of course, most of it makes a lot of sense. If you're an investor, if you're a trader, you would look at it very differently. But my suggestion here would be to look at it with the perspective of understanding the business and the story around it, right? So, ignoring the center point for the time being, if you just look at on the right side, you'll see this about section, and this is where the story starts for this company, and you can actually read through it to understand what do they do and what business are they into, right? So you can clearly say that this company was incorporated in 2010 as Zomato Limited, and it's a leading online food service platform in terms of the value sold. So it's actually into food service. It provides a platform where you can go and order food, and the restaurant, there's a delivery partner who will go to the restaurant and supply the food to you. And they do a lot of other things as well. So we'll look at that portion as well. And right now, if you read about them, it operates in 23 countries here, and almost 131,000 plus active food delivery restaurants is what they cater to. And they have more than 161,000 active delivery partners, and average monthly food order of 10.7 million customers, right? So on an average, every month, 10.7 million customers actually place order on Zomato. So that's a good number. And then if you keep going down here on the right side, this will open up another window for you. You can actually read through a lot of it, the different business segments which they play in. And this is important to understand, because when you are a HR professional, let's say working for a Zomato, they hire you. It's important for you to understand where is it that my talent comes from, right? Who is my talent who's going to work in this business, and what are the different parts of the businesses where they're going to add value. And in fact, in those business segments, what are some of the things which I need to know? What do I sell in that business segment? How do I make money in that segment? What are some of the challenges in that segment? And all those things will come much later. But I think the basic level, if I have to say, if you're a 5-year-old and you have to understand business, I think the first thing is to really understand where the money comes from. And that's going to be the focus here, right? So if you look at it, business segments, they say food delivery is almost 44% of the revenue in H1 of FY25. And this used to be much higher. It was almost 81% in FY22. But this also means that they must have started generating revenue from other sources, other business segments as well. And probably initially when they started business, they were largely playing in food delivery, but they got into other businesses as well. So Zomato, which is the B2C technology platform, and I'm sure I've taken the most simpler example here because we all use Zomato, so it's easy for us to understand. It's a technology platform, it's an app-based platform where you can discover local restaurants, order food, and have it delivered through a last mile network of delivery partners. And they are operating in 800 plus cities, and this revenue has in this segment has grown by 35% in H1 F25 and driven by 24% increase in gross order value, right? So very clearly, this is a segment which is growing, and consumers are ordering more and more here, and there's clearly increase in business happening. And what you also see here is some operational metrics, and you can see some technical terms being used. So average order value, average monthly transaction per customer, average monthly active food delivery restaurant partners. So these are good numbers to know, because these numbers have to keep improving, right? And when your average order value keeps going up and up and up, means you're actually there are more consumers, or the order value is going up. So people are actually ordering more over a period of time. And if you see average monthly transactions, this number is also kind of increasing. So it used to be 18.4 million in F24 versus 14.7 in F22, right? So 18.4 million customers actually engage on this platform in FY of 24 in a month. Average monthly transactions is what it is. Average order value of 428, right? So if anybody who orders food on Zomato, on an average, the order is close to 428. Of course, people will order for 100 rupees, 200, 1,000, 2,000, but on an average 428, and that number has also increased. And delivery restaurants have increased, active delivery partners have increased. So all these matrices give you a good sense of also, if you're a smart, sharp finance professional, you know that this is actually improvement in business, which is happening in the food delivery space, which is growing across all these areas. And interestingly, which a lot of people don't know, the second business segment which Zomato also plays in is called Hyper Pure Supplies. And this is almost 30% of their business in H1 of F25. And this is actually a B2B platform. So Zomato, as you saw above, was B2C, the food delivery one, which provides product the food to the consumers directly to the delivery partners. But this is Hyperpure is a B2B platform, and this is for supplying food ingredients and other products to restaurants and other B2B buyers. Right. So imagine they source directly from farmer produce, traders and brands and supply to customers. So a simple example would be you typically would buy something from a farmer, and it could be anything from an onion to a vegetable or grocery or any item which you may supply actually to a restaurant who would use that raw material to produce and make certain products. So it could be hotels, it could be somebody else as well, or restaurants, right? So that's the B2B model which they are actually playing in, and this segment's revenue increased by 97%. So clearly this is again hot space. This is clearly a space where you see they are operating in 8 Indian cities, and they're also looking to grow in this space. The third one, which I think a lot of us know already, is what we call the quick commerce, and that's the brand called Blinkit, the company which they acquired in August 22, and this is right now 23% of the revenues. And this is quick commerce, right? So anything from a soap shampoo to anything that you want to order to eat, or grocery items, rice, or anything, personal care, home care, toys, games. In fact, people order clothes also. So I think it's been a game changer. They've really been able to solve problems, and within 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, you get your delivery of your product. So that's called quick commerce. And this is what they do here. And this segment revenue has grown by 136% in FY25. And again, a space which is actually a very interesting one, and which is growing fast. And then they've shared some matrices around quick commerce. So how much is the average order value? So if you saw above, the average order value for a Zomato was, for a food delivery, was 428, whereas for quick commerce, it's almost 613 rupees. And the number of orders which come, right? So gross order value, then average gross order value per day, average monthly transactions, number of stores which they partner with, or maybe the dark stores. So that's all which they have here. And the last one, the last model which you see here, is actually going out and others. So this is where you go to a restaurant outside and you eat there, and they have a tie-up. So you have a Zomato Gold membership, if you recall. Or even if you don't have one, you have discounts running on Zomato. So you can dine in, you can pre-book, you can ask, you get some discounts, anything ranging from 15%, 15%, 20%, 25% on when you pay the bill using the Zomato app and the T Plus cities. And this again is close to 3,225 crore of revenue in FY24, right? And this segment revenue also increased by 170% and so on, right? So additionally, the company also launched Zomato Live, offering event discovery, ticketing for food festivals. So you can go on Zomato Live and attend any of these food festivals, music concerts, and this happens in 13 Indian cities right now. And you can also get some quick snapshot of what are some of the developments in this company. So in August 24, Zomato also did one acquisition, and they acquired a company called Paytm Entertainment Ticketing Business. and they actually acquired Paytm's company, which is Paytm app for transferring money. They had an entertainment and ticketing business, including the Paytm Insider and Ticket New apps. And this is to purchase tickets for movies, sports, and events. And they bought this company for 2,048 crores. So very clearly, they are foraying into other areas also. And this is slightly different from food. While everything above is food, grocery, they are also looking to get into this space, right? So that's an inorganic expansion, as you call it. Now, think about it as a HR professional, right? So when you say you have to align HR strategy with the business strategy, if I don't understand these business elements, how will I actually be able to think about a HR strategy? It's going to be a difficult task, right? Now, and my brain is actually already activated as I was reading through this whole piece. And I'm just going to give a quick mental model of how a HR professional would think here, right? So if you are in a food delivery business and this is growing at a 24% or a 35% segment revenue of 35%, so you would be worried, you would be thinking that this is high growth business, right? So how do, and I'm very sure there would be challenges around losing delivery partners, there's attrition, gig workforce. How do I look at the gig workforce model or the third party hiring model? How do I make sure that I defend my market share? Because typical competitor for a Eternal would be a Swiggy or some of the other organizations, right? So how do I defend my market share? How do I continue to grow? So my sales program. So this is typically the sales force. How do I make sure that I have the right people strategy to attract, develop, retain talent? How do I drive talent organization culture across all these businesses? And probably, all these businesses will have a HR professional in all likelihood, and all the COE strategies that you drive across performance, across compensation, talent acquisition, management, employee relations is going to hover around what kind of business challenges and strategies you see across all of them, right? And competition would be heating up. It's a fast growing market. Hyper pure supplies may have a very niche skill set that you require, because their ability to sell to business would be very different from your ability to deliver to a customer, which might be a very brand driven activity, right? So, and quick commerce may have a very different people challenge to deal with, and all these areas will have a huge component of what you call the gig workforce or the third party employees. And how do you make sure you're able to drive the retention there, have the right partnerships, have the right compliances? I think all those pieces will come into play, right? So, and think about the acquisition, right? So when you're acquiring a company, it's about integrating cultures of companies. How do you decide who stays, who goes? How do you field the best team? How do you drive the cultural transformation? And really, how do you make that viable from a people perspective? So there are a lot of things which will happen when you think about an M&A situation here. And this business is new age consumer tech, and it will have its own different complexities on talent organization culture, depending on how the industry is evolving from here on. And this is a fast growing consumer tech industry. So HR strategies would be decided basis some of the factors that we just spoke of, right? So in a nutshell, this is one example of, today we are only talking about how do you get to know about the organization. Of course, there are multiple sources that you can go to. You can go to the company website, you can go to the company LinkedIn page, and some of the other resources. And of course, we can do that as well in one of the videos. We'll do that. However, today, till we complete the screener study here, we are not going to move to that, because screener will give you already a lot of information as a one single stop shop to get it, right? So this is an example of Eternal. And if we were to close the video for today, what I would suggest is it's simple. You can go to screener.in and you can look at any company that you want to know about. So, and the only disclaimer here is that Screener is a website for all the publicly listed companies in India. So if you're working for a foreign multinational company which is based in US and not listed in India, for example, a Deloitte or a PwC, probably you may not have that information on Screener, and we'll have to look at other resources to get there. But if you're a company, publicly listed company in India, then you are going to get that information here. So, and you can search for any organization, right? So this, you can take another random name. We can look at, let's take an example of TCS and Tata Consultancy Services. So you go on TCS, you can, on the right side, you can see what business they are into. It's an IT services, consulting and business solutions organization partnering with world's largest businesses. And you will come across various jargons, and probably in the next connect I will also talk about how do you cut across these jargons and try to make it as simple as possible. So if you just click on the right side, similar to what we did for Eternal, you will see all the basic important information. So it's into IT services, consulting, business solutions, and has been partnering with many of the world's largest businesses in their transformation journey. And once again, the business breakup of this company. So you can see these are the different industries in which they provide solutions. So BFSI, which is banking industry, financial services, and insurance, is actually the largest portion of their business, right? And we'll also talk about how an impact in one industry can create an impact on people aspects and the cross linkages. So understanding business is a skill, and there are multiple mental models and frameworks which will get activated as we do that. I'm going to share that from my experience. I'll share how I think about most of it. What are the some of the things which run in my head when I look at different stories here on screener, and how do I bring the people linkages. Right. So use this before we come out with the next video tomorrow. I would strongly encourage you to go to screener.in and look at your aspirational companies that you're looking for on campus and try and read about them on the about section and the key points. Let's take a couple of more very quick, trying to playing around with the website. There are a lot of other tabs. We are not going to go there today. We are just focusing on the about section. Let's take another example. Let's take an example of Capgemini Technology Services. So Capgemini, you can find it here. It's not listed in India, hence you don't see a lot of information. We can take something else. Let's look at some of the aspirational companies which students want to join on campus. So let's look at Hindustan Unilever Limited, and there we go. So you have all the information once again. It's a FMCG company which sells products across different categories and different business segments, right? So 50 plus brands, 16 FMCG categories, and they play in home care, beauty and personal care, food and refreshment, right? So they are into a lot of things, and you can read about them. So it's also going to capture things like what kind of distribution network, what kind of manufacturing capabilities do they have, right? And all this information is readily available. They play into R&D. They have 6 R&D centers. And it also talks about some developments on the business front. So interesting, right? So if you were to take a quick summary and assume that company comes on campus and you're shortlisted for a process, or you're going to sit in a process of a company, it's not a bad idea to just come here and read about the organization and some of the key points that you can see here, right? So I'll take one last example before we close the video. My last example is probably going to come in. Maybe we can pick up a company from public sector this time. So, and maybe we can, or maybe let's pick up a Tata company. So Tata Group has a lot of companies in India, and maybe we can pick up the company which is very interesting because the gold prices have gone out of the roof, and that's one portion of understanding economics and the geopolitics, and we're going to come to that as well. However, Tata Group, if you were to look at Tata, the company which actually manufactures gold. Okay, I'm completely blanked out and is all right. So let me see which one is the gold company. Tanishq is the brand, right? So, which company of Tata? All right, so Titan. So completely blanked out. So Titan is the company which sells gold under the brand name Tanishq. So if you click on Titan, what you can see here is on the about, it's most respected lifestyle company. All right, so gold is just one part of it. They sell watches, jewelry, eyewear as well. So which is a new category. and founded in 1984 as a joint venture between Tata Group and TIDCO, which is Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation. All right. So if you go down here, you'll get everything about it. Revenue mix. So 85% of the revenue for Titan comes from jewelry. And it's the leading organized jewelry retailer. And with all Diwali season round the corner and gold prices crossing the roof, let's see how it plays out. But very clearly, they have a lot of brand outlets. So if you go to a mall, you would have seen a Tanishq, Mia, Zoya, Karat Lane. So these are some of the brand outlets where they sell jewelry. And today they hold 8% market share in the jewelry market as a whole. And they have kept on adding stores, so you can find all that information. But this is almost 85% of their uh, business in India. And one thesis that you can draw here is that they just hold 8% market share, right? And that means this is still a fairly large market with a lot of players. Watches and wearables is almost 8% of the market, and they sell different watches under the brand like Titan, Fast Track, Sonata, and Klein. And this is a 27% market share in the analog watches in India. And they've got manufacturing facilities in Hosur, Coimbatore, assembly lines. So you can read through it, you'll find all the information. And then you have eye care business, which is very small, which is very new and nascent. And 1% of the business, they have network of 898 stores. And they have 6 international stores as well. And they own the Fast Track and Titan Eye Plus brands. So these are the three key businesses. And then they have something called emerging businesses. And this is where they come out with fine fragrances, Indian dress wear, and fashion accessories. So there are some brands, which there's a brand called fragrance products are sold as the Skin brand. And then you have some other brands as well under which they play. But largely, the business model is jewelry and watches, wearables, and some of the other segments that we saw. And while they do all this, they also have international presence, and then you can read about the other information as well, right? So the first hack, ending today's video, would be if you want to understand about the business, go to screener.in. That's your first good bet to really go and understand on the about section on what does the company do and how do they actually make money. What are some of the business segments and how do you really make money? So all the best. This is video 1 of what do you need to know or what do you need to do as a HR professional to understand business. And we are going to spend more time. We'll probably come out with videos quite regularly, quite frequently. Sometimes it could be more than one in a day. Depends on my mood and depends on how much you encourage me with. How do you feel about it after seeing this? And these videos are going to be posted on YouTube. The links will come on LinkedIn and most likely on Instagram as well. And feel free to play around, try and understand things. My idea is I'm a passionate HR professional, and this is one narrative of 20 years I've been hearing that HR people don't understand business. I want you to understand business. And I also want to give you the why, the what, and the how. So that's my journey. And looking forward to staying connected with all of you. All the best for the day. Thank you.